All right. So today I've got Randall Townsel. He's a vet of the construction and real estate development business, completing over 750 projects, multi-million-dollar projects in not only residential, but also commercial. Glad to also be a fellow Chicagoan on the podcast. Randall, how's it going, man?
It's going great. How about yourself? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good. Just the little man ran all over me just now, so I had to change sweatshirts, and now I'm here.
My dad had a term for that. He said, "It's your turn." Like he went through it. So when I said that stuff, he was like, "Yeah, it's your turn now."
Man, I love it, man. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast. I think to get things started, first, let's kick off with, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Great question. Well, first of all, I'm excited to be here. I appreciate you having me.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, first of all, I grew up in on the south side of Chicago. Just from a location standpoint, 95th Street, the end of the line, referencing the L station. And so my father and mother divorced when I was 5. So just I was in a single parent household with an older brother who was 7 years older than me. So he kind of was gone to college as I was growing up and becoming a teenager. I say all that to say that when I did not know what I wanted to do, I knew that I was a football player. I was a really good football player. I was a collegiate football player. And I had aspirations of doing all of that, which I accomplished. And I say, as a youngster, I wanted to be a professional football player. Mm-hmm. And then as I started to grow and get around and go to high school and then finally college, and then you realize that, there's more to it than that sport. The one thing I remember of defining what I wanted to be, and more than what I wanted to be, is what I wanted to do. I wanted to have freedom. And I remember when I was 18 and I had to write a paper for our English class. And the question was, how did you see yourself? And I kind of wanted to have this lifestyle where I was in control and I controlled my schedule, and that it was almost as if I could have a retirement lifestyle at a younger age, meaning I didn't, this was my perception at the time, right? I didn't know how much work was involved.
Yeah.
I could go and get workouts and, I can travel and, and just hang out and it'd be really cool and make money. And so I remember writing that paper. I didn't know exactly what it meant. So I didn't really have a specific, thing that I wanted to be. I didn't know if I wanted to be a business person. There weren't many business people in my neighborhood to, look and see, oh, he's a business guy, right? Yeah. And, there weren't, there were people that I knew who were perhaps was a plumber or, worked for CTA, a school teacher.
Right.
Nothing wrong with all of those. Those are great careers. But I can't put my hand on one entrepreneur that I knew growing up. And so there was not a definitive route or plan. But once I got to college, I just knew the type of lifestyle that I wanted and kind of went from there. So roundabout answer to say that I didn't really know.
Yeah. No, but I think I think it's for me growing up, I always wanted to be a basketball player. Until I retired at the ripe age of 17. I always knew that I would be a businessman. My parents were in business, so I always knew that business was in my future, but my thing was basketball. And so, I at times kind of look back and wonder, what if I had kind of explored interests rather than being so kind of singly focused on, I'm going to go into business. I'm just going to be a businessman, and having this image of what kind of businessmen do. So no, I think it's cool. And I think that that's the better way to do it, to be honest with you, to kind of explore your interests.
I will share something with you, and I'm not
Sure.
trying to sidetrack the show, but this is something I'm not sure if you know or not. Mm-hmm. So I played football at Northern Illinois University. I was a standout player. I did very well. I was one of my team's top professional prospects as a senior. I did pro days for teams. I was not drafted that year. And are you familiar with the CFL, Canadian Football League?
Yeah.
So my rights were picked up by a CFL team. Mm-hmm. I did have an agent going through all of this, so I was pretty close to what that childhood dream was. And then during that time, I was caught in a drive-by shooting, and I was shot. And it hit me here in my face and lodged against my main artery and eardrum. And to this day, I have 9 staples there, and this scar. I don't know if you can see it there.
Oh man, yeah.
36 stitch marks and another 8 right here. And so that kind of ended everything at 22 years old, and and any aspiration to go play in Canada and come back, and get an NFL shot or whatever. So, I guess in essence, I did come close to what my goals were. My high school was full of very highly competitive football players. Percy Julian High School in the 80s, where in 12 years, our coach sent probably 70 to 75 kids to Division I, and we had 8 NFL guys.
Oh, wow.
And so it wasn't a far-stretched dream, but after that, and we could talk about it later, or I can go into it now, I started in corporate America, but I went to do my interview with stitches literally still in me from the gunshot wound.
Wow.
Wow. So that's my quick story, side note of that situation.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, and I'm amazed. I did not know that, but I think what I'm curious about is how did you pivot, right? Like you were all in, you were so close, like you were at you were at the 1 yard line, pun intended, and this terrible thing happens, and now you've got to make a pivot. Like how did you, first, what did you pivot into? And then 2, how did you kind of manage that emotionally? I'm very curious.
So great questions. So my coach, infamous Jerry Pettibone, who was formerly at Texas A&M in Oklahoma, and he came and took over Northern Illinois, and after that went to Oregon State. He gave me an opportunity in between junior and senior year. Myself and our quarterback, Marshall Taylor, he asked if we were interested in interning at IBM. Great. Best thing I did, at that time. And had a great summer interning with them. Got exposed to the corporate world, to what it's like to work daily there, and worked for a marketing division in Oak Brook for a gentleman who I got to meet named Bob Blackwell. And so that was my exposure prior to the incident. So as soon as that incident occurred and I was not able to play professionally anymore, the next thing for me was to call Mr. Blackwell and say, hey, you guys have any openings? Got any jobs? And he said, sure, come in and we'll interview you and put you through the process. Excuse me. And so I did that, and literally sat in there. I'm not joking, like a week and a half after my surgery. So, in which my face was still a little swollen, which that was pretty good for a 22-year-old. I will say that I was pretty confident and resilient. Coming from, where I come from, as well as playing football and just all of that, what comes with, a lot of things appear to be bad as you're going through them. But coming from a household of, divorced household and kind of growing up thinking I'm the man in the house at an early age and all of this happening kind of prepares you for that so that you can continue to move forward. So I pivoted by immediately just jumping right back in the race and getting involved in that opportunity to work for IBM and actually did very well in their process and got the job. And so that's how I pivoted.
That's awesome, man. So my mind's going with so many other questions, but I still kind of want to hit some of the topics that I had prepared or the questions I had prepared. But entering the corporate world, at what point did you kind of remember or go back to that feeling as a kid that you were like, I want a little bit of freedom. I want a little bit more control of my time. Like, how deep into the corporate world did you get before those feelings started kind of rumbling in your stomach?
So a couple of things were going on. As I started with IBM, like literally 2 days after I graduated. So I actually went an extra semester. So I got shot that summer, and then I had one more semester. I had one class to take. So I graduated in December. I think graduation was on a Saturday, and I started work on Monday. And so I went into that. I have a cousin, and she was extremely instrumental to me. She did two things for me. One was she gave me a book. The one side was how to buy real estate, and the other side was how to sell real estate. Okay. It may have been how to buy a house and how to sell a house. Yeah. And I remember reading. I read that book maybe in a day. I was just infatuated, right? Yeah. And then she said, hey, I have an opportunity for you. I'm on the board of directors for a community organization, and we now know it as Bronzeville. At the time, it was not called Bronzeville, right? The different neighborhoods, it's Grand Boulevard. And so that's sort of what it was referred to. And that was with Akhenaten. Akhenaten was a subsidiary of Centers for New Horizons, which is a non-for-profit in the area. Akhenaten was the development arm after the Egyptian pharaoh Akhenaten, who was architect. He was an architect. Not sure if he was a pharaoh. He definitely was an architect. Akhenaten. And so she got me on the board. So I was part of this community development. I was on the board at the board level, and I got a chance to interact with the executive director and kind of see what they were working on, what projects, etc. And at the same time, and she said she did two things for me. It's actually three, and probably a lot more than that. Third thing was she said, yeah, you buy a house and you do that now. So I bought my first place at 23 years old. So I'm at IBM. I'm on the board of directors of a community development company. I bought a condo across from from South Shore Country Club golf course, and then I read this book, and so I had that background while I was at IBM. In addition to that, looking back, I haven't gone back over these memories like I'm doing with you.
I love it.
But going back now, I look at it. I had a friend with a car dealership license. So while I was at IBM, I would literally take people to the auction, get them a good deal on a car. And, I learned how to, mark up. I made a business out of it. So, getting you a good deal. My first car was a 300 ZX gray T-top. I think I got it for $8,000 out there. It was like really affordable. And then, I got my wife's car. She had a BMW, I remember Candy Apple Red 325 iX. And so we were getting these cars, so I would put a markup on it. And then I even put it behind my condo. There was a parking lot. So I paid guys to wash the cars back there so my clients could come pick them up after I bring it from the auction. I'd call, I had financing options. I'm doing this while I'm at IBM, and so I guess that was kind of the start of my entrepreneurial deal. Yeah. Well, that's not true. That's the start of it post-college. Yeah. Going back. So I guess this has been in me. Going back to college, I took my scholarship check. Hopefully they can't do anything for me saying this now, which you're supposed to pay your entire semester of tuition with when you live off campus. So if you're in a dorm, they just pay it for you. When we are off campus, they give you a check. I paid 1 month's rent, took the remainder of the check, and bought water purifiers from NSA. And NSA was a company, so water purifiers. And I sold water purifiers after practice in between classes. I made like $5,000 in 1 month when I was in school. And so fast forward back, that's what I was doing while I was at IBM. I then got to a point at IBM. I love to excel. I'm extremely competitive. I went through training the first year, and then they gave me an account. That account was Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I had every Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. That's what they call them. The different locations were called plans in the country. I think there were 72. And they had a headquarter, which really wasn't a headquarters. It's called the association. But the association had influence over all of the other plans. Couldn't tell them what to do, but they were a significant influence. And I had a $10 million, let's say, quota. I sold personal computers. Okay. And so I had a customer tell me, I'm sorry if I'm getting long-winded, tell me to be quiet.
Go for it. No,
I see it now. This is really how I started on my own.
I love it.
I had a customer at Blue Cross Blue Shield Chicago, and he said, Randall, it was a startup company called Dell that was coming up. You may be familiar with them. They were just coming out. And then there was Compaq. And they were giving us just hell because they were cheaper. And we were better quality. And he said, it doesn't matter if you're better quality. I could buy 3 of those, right? And I'm still at your price. So price was important to him. So I did a lot. I put this guy on a private jet that I secured, IBM jet, flew him to Boca Raton, Florida, where we made and designed our personal computers at the time and got him all fired up. And he said, I get it, but it's still too much money. So I called a dealer. The dealer channel buys wholesale from IBM. And so I was like, man, how much does I had a dealer that we had in our work with our office. And I said, Scott, how much do you get them for? He's like, we get like 50% off or whatever. Like, really? It hit me. I made Blue Cross Blue Shield a dealer. This is a 20-some-year-old kid. I made Blue Cross Blue Shield a dealer. So then I got through the pricing. I sold $20 million worth of computers. Yeah. I made Golden Circle, with all the sales thing, hotel, Fontainebleau Hotel. So we get time for bonuses. And they announced me on stage and they said, Randall Townsel, great job, told the story, everything I did. You know what my bonus check was?
Go ahead.
$1,500. I quickly learned.
That's wild.
I quickly learned that even though I made tens of millions of dollars for the company, that was pretty much what that value was to me. Right. I stayed at IBM 4 years. So within another year and a half, I was out and I left to go learn real estate development at the not-for-profit in which I was on the board of directors for. I resigned from the board and went to work for them full time to learn it. And that's sort of how I got my start.
I love the story for a number of reasons. I love the fact that there was just this hustler in you. You know what I mean? Like you saw opportunities, and more importantly, you saw ways to fix problems. and you were like, all right, cool. This is how I'm going to fix this problem. And this is how I can kind of get a piece of it, for me. And I think that's the nature of an entrepreneur. It's trying to align all the incentives. How do you help someone here, help someone there, and then also help yourself at the same time? So I love that. And I love the realization of, I brought in how much money for the company and I only got $1,500. Like
$1,500.
And the crazy thing about it is, and not to bash corporate America, because I, lived it and thrived in it.
Sure.
The reality is they're owning all the risk. Because if you had a terrible year, you still got your full salary. Right?
Well, I get it.
So I get it. I absolutely understand the game that they have to play. But if you're a standout performer, I 100% understand that moment where you're just like, I'm not getting all of the upside, right? I'm not getting all the upside of my hard work and my problem solving. Like, what can I do on my own? So one of the questions I ask every guest, and I think you've kind of answered it a little bit when you said that you went and got the job. But while you're working, you're kind of getting some experience, kind of learning real estate development and kind of learning that world. What would you say was the first step you took for your business?
So the first thing that we did, so I told you I owned the condo at 23.
Mm-hmm.
So then within 2 years, at that point, I was engaged.
Okay.
And my wife and I bought our first house, which needed a total gut renovation in Bronzeville on 48th and Forestville, with the basement, a 5,200 square foot red brick home that needed renovation. So that was going on. And at the same time, I started my first construction company with my cousin, RC Remodeling, R. Randall C. Corey, very, very creative. And we wanted to bring professionalism to construction. But it also allowed me to, that along with my job at the time at Akhenaten, I started figuring out real fast how to coordinate these phases of construction. What's important, what's a critical task, what comes first, what doesn't, and then the costs and the budget. Mm-hmm. And I think it was crazy. I think we bought this house, get this, $35,000. Lady was asking $65,000, $35,000. I told her 30, and she told me to go to hell. Older lady, sweet lady, she said, go to hell, and hung up on me. And my wife said, we get the house. I was like, no, not, but I'm on my way to hell right now. So that's exactly what she told me to do. And so anyway, she called back a week later and she said, 30,000. I said, ma'am, you got me, right? I mean, she said 35. I said, I offered 30. She said, 35,000. Yeah. You got me, right? Let's do it. And I think our budget from the bank was $65,000 to renovate, which obviously that's not going to do it. So, but it got me going on this first rehab, which ended up being beautiful house. I mean, we had a parlor, a living room, a dining room, a library, a full gym. My office was in the house. When I say gym, I mean with mirrors on the wall, the same steel plates you have at East Bank, right? But I had that, the bench, incline, everything, and we just went all out, and it was a great place. But that sparked my admiration, which would soon become passion and a very intense love for construction.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love the fact that it's super personal, right? Like I love the fact that you had this experience for yourself and you're just like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I can do this some more. Cause I feel like, I want to ask you about this. I feel like a lot of times, especially nowadays, the idea of finding a side hustle, starting a business is such a hot topic, right? And really what's motivating everybody is cash. Everybody wants money, which obviously has its benefits. But I think a lot of times when it lacks that passion, it kind of becomes a little bit meaningless, and you can't sustain and work through the chaotic kind of crap that you got to deal with to actually run a successful business. And so kind of before I get into some of the kind of tactical things about running your business, I'm curious, because real estate is the hot topic. It is the topic of like, you got to learn how to invest in real estate in order to build wealth. What's one of the things that I noted here was like how, one of the top videos on YouTube right now is how to invest in real estate with no money. Right? So I would love your perspective on kind of how to enter the real estate world, and also what's your view on the noise in the real estate world with a lot of kind of like non-passionate potential amateurs entering into the space? Like, what's your philosophy on it as you love it, you love this kind of industry, and I'll go so far to say the art of it.
So great question. I have to start when I started buying homes and selling them, which people quickly would call flipping. You couldn't say the word flipping. Flipping would not allow you to get a loan, right? That was a bad word. I went through a lot in Bronzeville and different areas. I was part of that group that appraisals just weren't there. We were literally, if you're buying a place in Bronzeville, which, for example, on my block alone, I purchased 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses and 18 unit on the corner of the next block on my block alone. And to get the comps, I would have to send people to Hyde Park, which is an adjacent area, which the comps weren't there. Everything was selling for so cheap. So I quickly learned just how to get stuff done. Like I could have said, the banks were saying, well, there are no comps, so I really can't help you. But I said, well, no, I mean, there are comps. I need the, which you can't do too much now. I need the appraiser's number. I'll show him comps. He's got to go over to, Cornell. He's got to go to Hyde Park. You can't get comps here because everything's being developed. So you're buying it cheap, but it needs renovation. So we need, after rehab, ARV, we need after renovation values, after rehab values. You get those in Hyde Park. That's what you do. I talked them into it. They started listening, and they would go and allow me to get comps in certain situations outside of that neighborhood to start allowing us to reap the benefits of an adjacent area's values. So I did that. I actually won the Good Neighbor Award, which was a Chicago Association of Realtors Award for a 4-unit development that I did on the same block that I took the building, which was in shambles, and renovated it and ran the rats out and made it very nice. And so we were awarded that. And I was also awarded that quadrant's called the Quadrant 10 within the ward. And I won the Quadrant 10 Developer Award. And this was years ago. I sound like one of those movies where the OG is talking, right? But I say that to say that I was literally trying to improve an area, right? And so my objective surely was money, right? I made money. We were fortunate, and so I was able to do that. But I wanted to improve. The passion was to improve the area.
Yeah.
Now, I did start investing in other areas also. So I think your question is, how did you do it with no money? Mm-hmm. So we purchased, our house. And then what I would do is, at the time, they had a loan called the 203. There's a 203K still. It's an FHA acquisition renovation loan. It allows you to acquire the property and renovate the property for owners only, for someone who's going to occupy it, right?
Yeah.
And it's for at least a year, I think it is. And so they had a 203K investors loan back then in the 90s. So you could use it, and it wasn't, so the commercial, if you went to a commercial lender and got a loan, it was 20% down. That's what it is, right? Or more.
Right.
But this would allow you to do like 10%, I think it was. And so when you're packaging these deals, 10% is kind of easier to come up with. If it was $100,000 deal, it's $10,000. It was still, some people don't have that. Yeah, but part of this whole entrepreneurial thing is that it doesn't matter what you have, you figure it out, right? It's easier to figure out 10 than it is 20, right? It's easier to figure out 20 than it is 40. It's easier to figure out 100 than it is 200. So that's how we got started, by using these different programs that were existing at the time. And they're programs now. And you just have to be creative. If a person hasn't purchased their first home, a good way to start out would be to use that FHA loan, which is 3.5% down payment. You can also have the seller you have relatives gift you that down payment. So it's 3.5%. Let's just say $100,000 project, right? $3,500. Oh, I can get a gift from my mom or dad, or from my aunt Doris, right? And that's legal. That's what the program could do. And so I technically don't have to even come to the table with those funds. I could also have the seller, pay the closing costs. So at the end of the day, for $100,000 property, you're coming out with a few $1,000s, right? Now the closing costs and everything, goes up a little bit, but we're still talking about a few $1,000s. Even if we doubled that to a $200,000 property, you're still only talking about maybe $4,000 or $5,000. And again, some people say, "Well, I don't even have that." Well, you get on the phone and you call every aunt and cousin and uncle and friend, and you don't worry about the no's, right? You just say, "I'm gonna call 100 people. I'm gonna call 50 people. Somebody's gonna believe in me and give it." And you create a situation where they buy into it. But nevertheless, now you have your first home and your property, and since you got it as an owner-occupied place, you were able to get in at that lower down payment or cash infused, right? And if you do it right, you can get it renovated also. Well, I mentioned now they have the 203K, which is an FHA loan with the renovation side. So now all you have to do is stay in this place for a year. You can sell it. You can't flip it. You can't sell it in less than a year.
Right.
But you can then sell it. So people say, "Well, I don't want to hold it for a year." Well, yeah, get a 2-flat, right? Get something where someone else is paying your portion, of the mortgage pretty much. And then in 2 years, you already got it one tenant.
Right.
You can sell it to a owner-occupied person who wants to occupy it themselves, or to an investor. And that's a quick way, without you knowing you were going to ask me, that you can get into the real estate game. And then also, if you're seasoned, and how do you get seasoned without buying it? You can work with other people, right? You can work with people as a group. You get a group of friends together. And I actually know a group like this. It's 4 of them, and they put their money together. So perhaps they can't do the owner-occupied situation, but now they're splitting that, because you can still get a conventional now and get in at 10% versus 20%.
Right.
When I was coming up, it was 20%. That's just what it was. But you can get 10%. But now that's 2.5% per person. So it's breaking up. And yeah, you're splitting everything, but real estate's a long play. So that's just your first acquisition. You get that up and running. And then you have to figure out what game are you want to play? Do you want to play the flip game, or do you want to play the long-term, hold the asset, rental income game, right? Yeah. That you grow over time. And I think there's spaces for both, but I really like the second one, especially as a wiser person right now.
Yeah. So I'm curious, and before, so we've had many conversations about the day-to-day life of an entrepreneur, and I really want us to dive into that, because I think we both are very impassioned by what it actually takes.
Yes,
but
you are.
But I'm curious, for you being in the game for, over 2 decades now, and you kind of see the influx. You said, do you think there's enough space for everyone? What does that saturation look like to you, right? Like, how are you dealing with kind of lost opportunities because there are just new people in the industry? Are you just having to look for more, expensive opportunities or deals? Like, what is that? How does that impact you? Because I know a lot of people that are getting into real estate that they have no experience whatsoever.
I'll be honest with you, man. I really never look at competition like that. If I want something, I'm going to do the dang gum thing. And it doesn't matter who I'm lining up against. It doesn't matter, what the situation is. And if I pour my all into a offer and I don't get it, that one just wasn't for me. It's a number of, it's a lot more. I think one of the first things is you have to be okay with no. People are not okay with being told no. No doesn't mean you're bad, you're not qualified. No means that one individual of this world of how many billions, trillions of people? I'm not sure.
I don't want. Like 8 billion, I think. I think it's 8 billion.
We'll use that. 10 sounds. We'll round it off. Of 10 billion people, right? That one person said no. Don't let that energy affect what you're doing. There are thousands and thousands of deals out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if you really want something, if you're a salesperson, if you are a school teacher trying to quiet down a class, whatever you are, don't accept no. Don't worry about no. That's nothing. A no is nothing. A no means you're on the right track. You're getting closer. So I don't worry about no. I don't worry about what this person wants. But I'm going to look at a deal, and I'm going to analyze that deal for what it means to me, right? And if it's for me and I put an offer on where I want to go with the deal and it doesn't happen, I'm on to the next one, period. Yeah. There's a lot more out there. And I just keep throwing at the wall, something's going to stick. Yeah. Right? And so that's it. I mean, you can't get caught up with, oh, wow, I really wanted that. My cousin, the same cousin, we're now, I think, on 5 things. I think I started out by saying 2 things she taught me. I think I'm on 5 now. She said, never fall in love with a piece of property. Your house, a rental, anything. I don't love those houses. You got worried for a second. You got worried.
No, I got worried for a second. I was like, I'm going to use that clip. I don't love these houses. That is.
I don't love these houses.
That's going viral. I'll tell you that.
I don't love these houses.
I heard this quote. I can't remember who it's by, but I want to build the tallest building in the city. And I'm going to do it by building the tallest building. I'm not going to start tearing other buildings down. I'm not looking at other people's buildings. I'm just going to build it. And so that mentality of not being worried about other incumbents or other players in the space, like, why, that doesn't bother me. That doesn't affect me. I'm just going to keep doing what I know to do to execute. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I learned a bunch of stuff that's going to help me with the next one. So I like that mentality of dealing with no, especially growing up in a household where, like, I can tell you this, my family, we don't do well with rejection. Like, we don't like rejection. I mean, like, that's just kind of how we all are. And it's just kind of it's the mentality that I have. I don't want to hear no. But I also have this part of me that, like, when I hear no, I'm going to analyze why I got a no, because the next one's not going to be a no, right? Like,
right.
It's that kind of mentality that you have to have. Even if you don't like it, you got to find a way to work through it. And I think that is kind of a perfect segue into what I would describe as our day-to-day conversations as, what did you have to figure the out today?
Wow. That's right. And you mean literally today? Oh, man.
like every day when we see each other, this is like, how's it going? Things are going good. Just figuring things out. Like, every day, I would probably say the definition of an entrepreneur is just figuring it out. No matter what business it is, what industry it is, what are you figuring out? So I'm not going to ask what you had to figure out today, but I am going to ask is, how do you find the energy every day to figure something new out?
Great question. I will tell a quick story.
Yeah.
I had there's a gentleman named William Farley. I love Bill Farley. Mm-hmm. He was former CEO of Fruit of the Loom, the underwear company. Mm-hmm. A gentleman once thought of as presidential material. Has an estate in Maine next to the Bush estate. I met him at Principal for a Day in Chicago. I don't know if they still have that. It's when they take local businessmen and just entrepreneurs. People who, work, professionals, mm-hmm. and you can go and be principal of a school for a day. And they do that so that Chicago public school students can see success, right?
That's awesome.
And so I had my principal for a day the same day as Bill Farley, and we met, talked, and became friends. Within several months, he wrote a check for $1 million to my company to invest in several projects that we were doing in a couple of months. And he taught me something. So we would talk, and we were, he'd take me to the Bulls game. Mm-hmm. And one of the lessons is, he had courtside seats. And he said, how'd you like the game? I said, great. He said, you been to a Bulls game before? I said, yeah. He said, have you ever been, courtside? I mean, courtside, like not a row up. I mean, like right on the court, right? Like, dude, just his sweat got on me, right?
Yeah.
And so he said, have you ever been to a game before? I said, yeah. He said, well, what's the closest you've been? I said, I probably, I don't know, the second tier or something, maybe the top of the first or whatever. I don't know. I was, close to approaching 30 years old at the time. 30, 32, something I can't remember. He said, it's the same game, but it's different views. He said, it's the same game. Like, it's only one game.
Right.
But it's different views. He said, I wanted to expose you to this view. He said, also, I know you, he said, you sometimes on payroll, it gets tough, right? Yeah, man. At the time I said, man, yeah, I got to figure out a, $20,000 payroll. He said, I get like that too. And mine's $500,000, or mine's $2 million, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And he's saying it doesn't change. It's the same game. It's just different views. right?
Yeah.
So in answering your question, right, those innately affected me in my mindset, right? Because that was firsthand. I'm looking at,
Right.
and not to mention his house he invited me to on purpose, with the elevator goes to his floor and opens up to only his floor, and this is the only block that goes east and west on Lakeshore Drive, Randall, and you can see the lake and everything. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And what that guy was just saying is that, man, it's a game. It's how you view it. It's gonna make a difference. So, how do I get the energy? Man, I am so fired up about life. First of all, because of my experience that I shared with you, that happened to me when being shot. I love life. I love oxygen.
Yeah.
I was asked, my wife asked me, what do you think about, what motivates you to wake up? And she got upset with me because my answer was air, oxygen.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, what goal? Oxygen.
Yeah.
I love oxygen. Because if you have never almost died before, then you wouldn't understand what I'm saying, maybe. But for me, I love oxygen. Now that I'm up, everything else is fair game. I have a ton of energy because I'm a competitor. Like you said, I'm going to build my tallest building. Yeah. I'm not worried about whatever everybody else is doing. I've got to build my tallest building. I have a finite amount of time. And by the way, I don't know when that time's up. So when I lay in bed and it's time to get up and it's 4:15 or 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like, man, maybe I could just doze back off. I used to do that. But for now, man, I'm running a 2-minute offense. I got to get up. I got to get out and get something. Are you too young to know what that came from?
No, I know that.
I'm so proud of your hip hop knowledge and history. But that's how I feel. And Boyega, I mean, it's a passion. I love getting up, getting my thoughts together, getting my affirmations done, getting my mind set on the day. And this is when it's storming outside. And I don't literally mean storming like literally raining in Chicago. This is when everything can be perceived to not be going good that day. You didn't pick up a payment didn't pay out, a customer didn't pay, you got payroll coming, name it. I've been through it. I don't care. We're going to put this energy here, and I guarantee you I'm going to figure it out. And that's the energy and mentality. You said, how do I have that? That's just what I want. That's just who I am. Yeah. Yeah. And I think what helps with that is learning that your mindset is everything. It's everything. The most confident person in the world, if they lose their confidence, they're a different person. You watch football, the Miami Dolphins quarterback, Tua. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about what happened? He wasn't playing too well.
Didn't he get like a double, like 2 concussions, like back to back earlier this year?
He sure did. Yeah. But prior to this year, everyone was counting him out. He was a first-round draft pick. Get rid of him. New coach comes in. The new coach put together a 700-clip highlight film for him and showed it to him. And it was all of the things that he did good. And he said, I believe in you. I need you to believe in yourself. Tua was telling people in the offseason prior to that, maybe I don't deserve to be in the NFL. Yeah. Maybe it's just better than I thought, and I can't compete. Yeah. And this man comes in and now he's an MVP candidate. This is the same motor skills and mechanics, but his confidence, his mindset changed, right? Yeah. And so that's what it is every day for me, man.
I love it. I love it so much. So one of the things that originally got us talking, especially about our respective kind of businesses, was being an entrepreneur and being a dad. And, my situation, I got a 10-month-old and I'm the crazy guy that quit his job right after having a kid. And, you said, you'll be fine. I did too. You'll be fine. You'll figure it out. And, you're right. It's grueling. It's brutal. It's painful, but you figure it out. And I think like you said, it really is about mindset. Like, I know for me personally, in the first couple months, I was just like, how do I try to be a good dad? How do I try to be a good husband? How do I try to get this business off the ground? Like, I don't have enough energy, but somehow I'm putting one foot in front of the other. And am I going as fast as I want to go? No, but I'm still making progress. And so I'm curious about your perspective on the concept of time and patience. And because my generation, we want to go fast, right? We're living that Ricky Bobby Talladega Nights life. I just want to go fast.
Nothing wrong with fast.
But I'm curious about your perspective, given your experience. How did you kind of deal with time? Because I also have a feeling that you have that impatience, like, I want to go, I want to get it. Like how kind of as an OG for me, tell me a little bit of how like my mindset should be thinking about time.
So first of all, I have a 276-month-old and a 240-month-old. So that would be 23 and 20, right? And when they were younger, I didn't miss anything. Practices, teacher conferences, drop-offs, pickups, AAU tournaments, volleyball tournaments, piano, you name it. Science projects. Yeah, I did the science projects.
No, listen, my wife's gonna do the science projects. I'll do the math. I'm not doing the science.
That's right. But so here's the deal. I had a lovely time with the kids, and I'm glad. I wouldn't change anything, because I think I put the most time into my kids and family. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean I didn't spend a lot of time on business. I did.
Right.
I think it can have the potential to kind of change your mind and make you think a little more and plan and be a little more cautious, right? Because outside of if it's just you.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. There's a way around that. And the way around is like this. You live one time, right? And there's 24 hours in a day. And so what I would do if I were doing this right now today is I recognize that I get up before everybody so I can have my time. I get my workouts done or whatever it is you like to do, that person, think, whatever, to walk, to eat, to just, have affirmation time, to meditate, whatever their thing is, right? And now you've had your time, because what happens is you get frustrated of dealing with the kids, the spouse, and that's either way, right? If you're male or female, and then the business, and you're like, man, I didn't accomplish anything. I wasn't productive. Set your goals, set your annual goals, turn those to monthly goals, turn those to weekly goals, turn those to daily goals. And that would be business, personal development, personal, family, and set it like that and stay on it and just do, if you get 1% better a day at the end of the year, you're 365% better.
Yeah.
Shoot, if you get 0.5%, right? Quick math. Yeah. What's that? 182.5. Something. I think I got it. I got it.
You did 182.5.
So if you just try to stay on task, and when you come off and get off of the track, just get back on. Again, the same thing we talked about people not liking to hear no. It's the same mentality you have to have when something doesn't go as you planned.
Right.
And some of us don't like that. We want to talk about the spilled milk. I like the next play mentality.
Yeah.
I was a cornerback. I can't worry about getting beat. I can't worry about making a good play because another play is coming at me. If I'm Steph Curry, I can't worry about the 3 I just hit from 30 feet because my team needs me to hit 10 more. Yeah. Right? And so that's the next play mentality. So get back on track, stay focused, set your goals, and stick to them. And it takes focus to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. And your focus is your family, your business, and it has to be yourself. You have to take care of yourself. Without a strong mom or dad, whoever you are, in your role in the family, you have to be able to feel great. You have to, in order to spread that good energy, you have to feel good about yourself. So don't say, man, it's just not enough hours in a day. Yes, it is. Get up early.
Yeah.
Get your butt up. Get up. Yeah. Now you got hours by yourself. Your phone's not ringing, right? Stay up a little later. It's only for a short period of time. Before you know it, these guys are teenagers and getting older. It goes quick. So get a good set of goals, measure those goals. Bring your annual down to monthly, down to weekly, down to daily. Stay on task. If you get off task, get back on it. And within those goals is spouse time, is baby time, is your time. Yeah. And if you need to make adjustments, make adjustments. Call a 20-second timeout. Make the adjustment and start the next day with something new. But don't cry and don't whine about what's wrong. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to help you. The armed guard's not going to come out for you. Nobody gives a damn. You fix it. That's my advice.
Listen, I love the advice, and it's very much in line with what I'm trying to do. Like a wise person once said, we overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year, but we underestimate what we can accomplish in 10 years. And I've tried to take that mentality of, okay, I know I want to go fast. This is the version of if I spend 100% of my time doing this, let's reel this back. I've got to accomplish this. I've got to do this. I have these commitments. I want to play this role in my family. I want to play this role in my friend circle, whatever it may be. And, start peeling back that onion from, okay, this is what I want to accomplish in 10 years. I used to always say, what does Tuesday 10 years look like for me? That was kind of how I managed my career and work my way backwards. And so I'm trying to do that myself now with the business. Okay, what do I want 10 years to look like? Peel it back. What do I want a year to look like? What do I want January to look like? And just kind of work way backward. But like you said, you got to give yourself that grace that if you miss a day, it's okay. Just get back up, make some adjustments. That makes me feel good that I'm on the right path.
You are definitely on the right path, man. I see you in there working, and you're always at it, and you have the right perspective. So it's going to happen.
I appreciate it. It's happening. You're right. It is happening.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna go and say it happened.
Amen. I love that. So before I get to kind of some of the kind of quick hitters or concluding questions. I'm curious because you made some analogies to sports, and again, I love basketball. I listen to basketball podcasts all the time, and one of the reasons is because I see that sports and like business are the same to me. Like they're very, very similar, and you can always find an analogy in sports that can be compared or likened to something you're dealing with in business. So I'm curious, what role does your experience in sports, pursuing your goal of being a professional football player, just kind of the learnings of sports, how did that translate into you being an entrepreneur? I'm curious about your perspective on that.
It's everything. I love athletics. I love what it teaches us. And I don't care what level. I'm not into the levels. I think if you play Pop Warner or youth soccer, it still teaches these things, like the discipline, the time management, the sacrifice, the selflessness, the listening to authority, the understanding the rules, but more than anything, man, just the confidence that it just exudes, right? And it just reeks, and to be successful in sports. And so I love everything that stands for. And yeah, you get smacked in the mouth, right? And that's part of football or basketball, or hit by a ball in baseball, right? Every sport has that. I remember Mike Tyson said, everybody has a game plan until they get hit in the mouth, right? Yep. And so, no, I still got the same game plan, man. Like, I could take a punch, and I'm not out. The only time you fail is when you quit. And I know people hear that and say, man, that's cliche. No, it's not cliche. Like, I'm not even going to smile. It's not cliche. Because if the game's not over and you're down 30, right, and you quit, then you lose. But if that buzzer hadn't gone off and you can hit 31 more points than, they hit, or whatever, one more point than they hit, to make that a 1 point win over that next, those minutes or whatever, then you win, right? And in life, you can't freaking lose. Like they say, I can't stand to hear these infomercials and stories about 80% of businesses fail. No, they don't. 80% of the people, I'm not going to curse, quit. They quit. They quit. And they quit because they run out of money, or they quit because it's too much time, or they quit because it's too hard, or they quit because everybody says no, but they quit. You say, well, how are you going to do business with no money? You can get money, right? Mm-hmm. You can figure it out. If you got an idea and everything, you can figure it out. But don't quit. Don't quit. Yeah. And so that's what sports has taught me. And I actually coached. I had the pleasure of coaching AAU basketball, but I had the pleasure of coaching high school football for years in Chicago.
I could see that.
And starting a youth football team with one of my dear friends who played 12 years in the NFL. And we started a youth football program where hundreds of kids went through there. And I coached at a small Catholic school, and a number of kids, went to college to play. I still keep in touch with these guys. My assistant manager in my company is actually my former team manager. Right? So this is a lifelong commitment for me. It's not about the sport. It's about the same things that we talked about. I used to always say, every day you have a choice to have a good attitude and give good effort. Nobody can take that away. You choose. If you're unhappy, that's on you. You just want to be unhappy. because life's going to bring adversity. You need that good attitude and you need that effort. Adversity is going to come. How you going to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you got to prove Mike Tyson wrong that you could take a punch, keep on going. So
yeah, I love it, man. All right, well, I want to wrap with a couple kind of quick hitters. If you want to elaborate, then we can go. But I want to be respectful of your time. What are some books that you recommend to other entrepreneurs?
Woo-wee. I have a couple.
All right.
But one of them that I was late reading myself is The Magic of Thinking Big. The Magic of Thinking Big. Go get that book. Okay. And it's just about how to think. We all think about starting small. We want to do this. And you can't even fathom what it means to do something larger. It's the same effort. It's the same effort. It is. Yeah. And so that book that's my number one suggestion. I try to do, I've been doing for the last 2 months, like a book a week. I do Audible books though. So
yeah, same. So I can't sit and read a book. I gotta listen to it. Yeah.
And then How Successful People Lead. That's another one. Don't know. I'm not. I haven't worked in the memory of all the authors, but How Successful People Lead.
We can Google it.
And then I think The Secret. That was pretty good for me. The Secret, and The Secret is about the law of attraction. Yeah. And I could tell you I'll tell you offline some stories. I am so, like, it's not even being sold. That's just what it is. There's energy. This whole world is filled with energy. Yeah. And you attract where your energy is, right? Yeah. And so The Secret. So in summary, Magic of Thinking Big, How Successful People Lead, and The Secret. And then I'll throw in a bonus one of, can't go wrong with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But I know a lot of people have heard of that. Probably heard of The Secret or maybe some of the others also. But those are my quick 4 for the entrepreneurs. Now notice I didn't even say like the market analysis or how to buy real estate. Right. Because if your mindset's not right, if your understanding of what you want to accomplish is not right, then it's not going to happen. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. What question should I ask the next guest? May I ask, who do you know do you know what type of person or who the next guest is? I do, but philosophically, I'm curious about kind of what you think would be a relevant question. I'm also going to ask this question right back to you. Okay, so I have a question. Okay, all right, and the question that you should ask the next guest is this: you're comfortable now. Everything's going well. If you woke up in the morning with nothing, you lost everything. Nobody believes in you. What do you do? So what's your answer? I got to get up, get out, and get something. I love it. I love it, man. I got to get up, get out, and get something. I'm going to make it happen. Drop me anywhere on the planet, I'm going to be good. Anywhere on the planet. Anywhere on the planet. Yeah. You know what's funny? So when you asked the question, my immediate thought was, do I have my relationships, yes or no? And then my second thought was, I'm fine either way. I just want to know what resources I have, because the number one resource I have are relationships. That's right. The relationships accelerate. That's the accelerant. If I have to start from scratch, all right, cool. We rebuild. Whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes. If you were in the man, you said one question. This is a quick question.
Sure.
If you're in the middle of the ocean, and the ship is in a ship, you have a shipwreck. The other passengers have been either drowned or eaten by sharks, and you're the only person there. It's cold. It's dark. Now you got two options. You can just let yourself go under and drown. Hey, nobody knows, man. You tap out. Go ahead.
Right.
Everybody's gone.
Right.
Or you can start going into a direction, kicking those feet with a flotation or something, or without.
Right.
In somebody's direction, because you want to live. Which one is it, man?
I mean, I'm gonna start swimming, but I'm also gonna be honest about I'm not Will Smith and I Am Legend, right? Like if we're in an apocalyptic future and everything's gone, I mean, God, it's been a good run.
Right.
But if I'm stuck at sea, and it's still 2023, and I can get back to someone, I'm gonna give it all I got to get somewhere. Or die trying, right?
I love it. Yeah. I love it.
Okay, so my last question. What type of entrepreneur would you be most interested in hearing on the podcast?
I would like to hear from someone who, and don't get me wrong, success is not measured in money solely, right? It can be measured in how many people you affected or helped or assisted, or if you're, whatever it is, whatever your goal or your mission is, right? If you're meeting that, if you're exceeding it, whatever that may be. A highly successful entrepreneur. And after reading that book or listening to the book, The Magic of Thinking Big, it has me very interested in listening to highly successful people, right?
Yeah.
I have some, very close friends that I consider highly successful. There are people who consider me highly successful, right? So I get it. It's levels to everything, right? In our own minds that we make up. But someone who could just even enhance and peak and tweak my thinking. No matter how long I'm around this earth, I can't get tired of hearing success stories. Because you know what? I think we all know how they go. They lose, and they lose, but they never stop, and then they get through. Or like I heard Rick Ross say, man, it only takes one time, one hit, just one hit to change your shit. Yep. So I just it never gets old to me. And whether that be, a coach, a teacher, someone that wasn't supposed to make it and they made it, or CEO of, Elon Musk, I'd like to hear someone just enlighten us all on what helps them be who they are.
All right. I'm building the list, man. I'm building the list. Randall, this is incredible. Thank you so much. It's pouring rain out here in Chicago, and I know I took some time out of your evening. So thank you so much. For listeners that want to reach out to you, how can folks find you?
Well, I have a couple of different options. I'm not sure if do we give out phone? I do have an office number, but so my social media skills are not great. But I do know we have Square T LLC. I think my son started that interning for me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, Randall Townsel, and then what's another one that's that I should be on that I'm probably not. But tell you what, if they reach out to you, and that's probably the only question I wasn't as prepared for, is that I could give my number up, but I don't think that's that's not what I'm trying to do.
You don't need to do that.
So, but I definitely be open to talking to, listening to opportunities, or just there to continue to assist someone with their thinking and their building of themselves and their business. So I'm open for all of that. So they can reach out to you, or they can find me as I mentioned on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn also. I'm on LinkedIn too. So that's a good way.
Perfect. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Always, all these sessions are, these are all mentoring sessions. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate you a lot, man. And so I appreciate you taking the time and having me on.
Sure. Awesome.